Hey guys, so I know I haven't done a longer video in a while. I've mostly just been doing the shorts and been focusing on posting those to like Instagram and TikTok and stuff, but I wanted to check in with my YouTube following and I wanted to do this longer video, and I wanted to talk about something that's really important to me and that I think could potentially help a lot of people. And it might give my shorter videos a little more context, and it may help you to understand some of the things that I talk about in those a little bit more. So I don't really have much of an agenda here, so excuse me if I'm kind of all over the place. But I think if you follow along with me, things will make sense. I'm going to try to keep things as concise as possible without rambling too much. I just want to make some quick points and expand on them a little bit. So I was depressed for most of my life. I would say it started around when I had a big move, when I was around, I would say 10. I moved to like another part of my state, and it was just all completely new to me. It was very scary. And that's when I noticed a lot of like insecurities, a lot of depressive thoughts, a lot of social anxiety started to kind of manifest inside of me. I didn't really understand it at the time when I was young. I didn't really understand depression and things like that. I don't think my parents really did or knew what that's what it was. But anyway, to make a long story short, I was very depressed from a young age all the way until about 27. And during this time, there was a lot of social anxiety, a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of I didn't feel like I was good enough at anything, or everybody was better than me, those kinds of things. A lot of loneliness, a lot of social anxiety, like very afraid to leave my house sometimes, to go do simple things like go to the store, things like that. Just a lot of emotions that I was dealing with. And there was a lot of drug use in there. There was a lot of alcohol use, a lot of trying to escape my pain in a variety of different ways. When I was about 18, I discovered lifting weights, and a lot changed for me at that point. I found this to be a very helpful outlet for what I was feeling. It made me feel really good. It made me feel very alive. But the problem was, when I would take time off from lifting weights, I would go back to feeling depressed. So it didn't really get to the root of the problem. It wasn't until I was 27 where I finally found something that made sense to me and really worked for me. And this was mindfulness meditation, which I do talk about a lot. Somebody had given me a book called The Art of Power by Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a Vietnamese monk, very famous for mindfulness. He just died recently. He has like over 100 books. And The Art of Power was really interesting because it opened my eyes to the idea that the past does not exist. The past does not exist. It's nothing more than thoughts in our mind. The future does not exist. It's nothing more than thoughts in our mind. And I mean, I guess this is obvious, but when you read it, when it really like sinks in, and you really more than just conceptually get it, when you really internalize that everything is just thoughts in our mind, it really opens up something for you. And that's what happened to me. And this is what happens to a lot of people when they have a spiritual awakening. They start understanding that the present moment is all that really exists. And that is when I started practicing mindfulness. This was the first step that I took to really do something to overcome my depression, instead of just laying around all day, trying to find quick little temporary fixes, trying to latch on to other people. All these external things will never work to get rid of things like depression. So what I did was I committed to mindfulness. I had faith. I really had a feeling that this was going to help me. And I sat down every single day between 20 and 60 minutes, and I just breathed normally in and through my nose, out through my nose, and I just focused all of my awareness on my breath. I did this every single day. I made a commitment to it. You have to commit to this. It's not the type of thing that's going to work after just trying it once or twice. It's not the type of thing that's going to work maybe even after, it might not work even after a couple of weeks. It might take some time. And you have to really be patient when you're practicing things like meditation. So after practicing mindfulness for about a week or two, I really started to see a difference in the way that I felt. Everything was becoming less. I was less emotional. I was less depressed. I was less anxious. I had less intrusive thoughts. And it just gave me like a little bit of hope. It gave me a little glimmer of hope that I finally found something that maybe really is going to work for me. And I continued practicing mindfulness. I practiced mindfulness every day. This became a staple in my routine. So at this point in time, mindfulness was a huge part of my life, and reading other spiritual books, like just spirituality in general, Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, The Untethered Soul, all these big popular spiritual books that really help a lot of people. I read all of them and they really changed my life. And things finally started to make more sense to me. I was like, spirituality is the key for me. This is it. And spirituality was my whole life at this time. It was all I really cared about because it was what was really helping me to feel better. So then from there, I discovered Letting Go by David Hawkins, which if you watched a lot of my videos, I talk about a lot. I'm a huge advocate of, and this is when I started getting into inner healing. I was like, okay, mindfulness definitely helped me to improve a lot, but there was still something missing. Like I still felt a little piece of me that was missing. I had always felt very lost. I felt very lonely. It was a very intrinsic kind of loneliness. It wasn't like just I was lonely because I didn't have people around, because sometimes having my friends around didn't even make me feel better. Sometimes it made me feel worse. So the point is, mindfulness alone didn't really do the trick. I needed something more. And when I discovered Letting Go, what I've come to realize, that I had so much stored trauma inside of me. I had so many stored emotions that I never let myself feel from when I was a child. I had a very volatile childhood, and there was a lot going on at that time, and it started to all make sense. And this is when I started learning about trauma, and I started understanding how this affects us physically as opposed to just mentally. People think trauma is just like you have one traumatic event and that sticks in your mind and that's it. Trauma stores in you physiologically. If you read the book The Body Keeps the Score, and Letting Go talks about it, there's a lot of books on this, how trauma is stored in us, and it's a lot of emotions that are like stored deep into, we trap them inside of our body. So once I started doing Letting Go and I started allowing myself to just fucking feel everything, this is what was the ultimate game changer for me. This is when I started to realize that this was what the problem all along. This is why I couldn't concentrate in school when I was younger. This is why I couldn't develop healthy relationships with people. This is why I was so anxious all the time. I had all of these trapped emotions. And similar to mindfulness, letting go is something that you have to stick with consistently. It's not the type of thing you do once or twice and think, oh, this doesn't work, or maybe it even helps you a little bit and you're like, okay, now I'm good. This is something that it has to be ongoing. It has to be something you do consistently. I still practice letting go. From when I discovered it 2 years ago, I still practice it every single day. So mindfulness, letting go, those were the two biggest things that have helped pull me out of depression. And just some advice with the letting go technique, this is what really helped me the most. Just throughout the day, I would just constantly remind myself to just relax my body and just bring everything inside. Don't focus on anything out and external. Don't let your mind get caught up on anything. Just physically relax and just bring everything to your heart. Just focus all of your awareness on your heart. I promise if you do this consistently throughout the day, every single day, it's going to be a life changer. So at this point, it was mindfulness, it was letting go, and then it was some other spiritual teachings like non-duality. Self-inquiry was a huge one. Self-inquiry is the practice of focusing all of your attention or your awareness inward. You want to just turn everything in. Like if you practice mindfulness, you focus all of your awareness on your breath. Turn that awareness into yourself and try to find this sense of like existence, this sense of I. I'll make a separate video. It's a little more detailed. And the other thing, if you're suffering from depression, is you have to stay very vigilant with the practical things that you do. So exercising, waking up at a certain time every day, eating very healthy organic food, getting sunlight, all of those things that everybody talks about. It's easy to let our mind take control when we're feeling very depressed. And it's very, very important that you stay vigilant and you stay on top of this. You have to make these practices the main part of your day. It has to be the most important thing. It has to be more important. Meditating has to be more important than spending time with anybody else, your career. You have to just wake up and meditate every single day, I promise you. There is no other way. Also, the other thing that helped me a lot was finding a really good therapist. somebody that I can just open up and express everything to. Because what this did was it allowed me to explore my past a little bit more, and I was able to sort of figure things out, and everything sort of started to unravel, and it started to make more sense. And when you kind of identify the past, once you've processed the emotions and then you start identifying the past for what it really is, you can sort of reframe it, and it no longer has any hold over you. So as always, please reach out to me if you have any questions. You can get me on Instagram, which I'll put below. But just to recap, mindfulness, letting go, staying on top of the practical things like exercising, sunlight, drinking water, eating healthy, therapy, and also journaling is really important. Journaling can be like a self-therapy if you do it right. So I appreciate you watching, and I hope this was helpful. I'm going to start doing more long-form videos like this. All right, I'm signing off. Have a good day.